So, why a podcast and why now?
So many reasons. So many reasons. I think those are two separate questions because if we really unpack the whole thing, we have spent our entire relationship, like from the beginning to the end, being so intentional about maintaining our privacy.
Absolutely.
And I don't feel like we have always given language to it. Like we've never said that, oh no, because we're very private people. Because I actually think that we're very open people and we like to share in intimate spaces. But I think sharing in a wider space obviously is giving me a little bit of the heebie jeebies. However, the why and the why now have two different stories. So,
Yes.
right?
Right, absolutely. What gives you the EBGBs?
Um, I think that when things are put on display, they become open for speculation, anything, no matter what it is. And I have always been a person that um, first of all, I like people out my business, and I don't like judgment. And I also don't know what's going to happen to the dynamic, like if people start to speak on you in a way that I don't appreciate, for example. If they start coming in the comments having something to say. But I also think that beyond that, it's more so like that's kind of been what we've kept sacred in our marriage is like just the idea of like nobody really knows our full story. And we've maintained that like some things just, I believe, should stay, between a husband and a wife. And I don't want to taint the really the peace that we've had by not inviting other people to know the intimate details of some of the things that we've experienced. Because of it, because we've been private, we've done a really good job at being the only two people in the room when things are happening to us. And we don't ever have to weave through anybody else's opinions or their voices or their thoughts or their, you know what I mean? And so I think that it's very easy for people once you publicize anything for people to pick it apart and have their opinions about it. And I just think that one of the best things, one of the most freeing things about our marriage is that we've been able to do it really just together and without interference.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself, but also I think one thing that most people should consider that's important is everybody doesn't have context for your person like you do.
Yeah.
And so when you invite others into relational things, that person only is judging by hearsay, and it's only your side. It's not both sides. And also, they're biased because most of the time, the person you're confiding into is a family member or a close friend. And so they're in your corner at default.
Mm-hmm.
And then they also have any other judgments that they had on that person just on face value.
Yeah.
And they don't have all the details besides the avatar that that person showed them.
Yeah. I think too it's an interesting dynamic because part of me feels like the level of privacy that we've been able to have an agreement with that privacy is like the thing that God used for our formation. I feel like God really has like formed us as individuals and as a unit in these private spaces and really been able to speak to us in a way that we didn't have distractions. We didn't have other people's opinions or even good advice, sometimes well-intentioned advice or what can be perceived as wisdom can dilute a thing. And because just the magnificent work that he has done with us in the quiet private space, I think some of the fear is like what's going to change if we start to build out in the open a little
Right.
bit more. And when it's private and it's just me, you, and God, there's so much protection in that. And I think it's just like now I do believe that God is calling us to build in public and to put what he has done for us and through us and with us on display for the greater good, right? To be able to maybe serve in a different way, serve people in a different way, maybe to be relatable in a different way. Maybe someone will be inspired or encouraged or have understanding or feel even just validated in their experience. And I also think that marriage is under such attack right now. Relationships in general, marriage, friendships, work, the workplace, all of that is under attack. And I think it's just a breath of fresh air that there are people who, it's so funny. I was on Threads the other day. And someone was like, where are all the happily married people? Why don't we hear from y'all? Like, y'all need to sound off because it's scary out here, basically, is what the person was saying. And everyone in the comments were like, we are minding our own business and we're not on Threads talking to y'all because we're happy. Like, we're actually actively keeping y'all out of our business on purpose.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, that's true. Like, we are not out here like, oh, because those people don't always be the happiest people. Like the people who are the example and the model couple and the power couple and all of that, they're not always actually living that in their real life.
Right.
Because social media is just not real. So when you have something real, it's like you almost want to protect that thing from what's not real. And I just thought also that it was disheartening because even though that's true, I am a firm believer that we do need to see good examples of things in order to believe that those things can exist for us as well.
I wholeheartedly agree. I like before we got married, one of the things I was worried about was I hadn't seen a happy marriage.
Yeah.
I had an idea of a happy marriage because one of my uncles has been married forever, but I don't really have context for their marriage besides that they've been married forever. And you don't know if they were married and, oh, you sleep in that room, I sleep in this room,
Right.
and that happened for 5 years. I don't have any of the background or the backstory. All I have was you've been married for a long time.
Yeah. Which is crazy because length of time isn't necessarily
A
an
happy
indicator
marriage.
of yeah. And so I think it's like not seeing anything that you don't see, right? Like we are entrepreneurs, we're founders. And so we're building something that didn't exist before we decided to start building it. And I think that we both know the hardship that comes with being the first in your family to do something, or it's very glorified, like being the first anything, but being the first anything is really, really difficult. And so I did have a good example of marriage. I felt like my parents had a very loving, very open and honest, fun friendship that I got to witness. And they did end up divorcing, but it wasn't until the divorce was until it was about to go down that I even knew all of the other things that I was an adult and I was able to understand her story a little bit better and understand her journey with my dad and his alcoholism and all the ways that she had silenced and masked herself to present so that the marriage would present, because they were actually the first. They were the first ones that like made it out of the hood, had a house, weren't on drugs. Like, they were the first of their family to have made something of themselves. And so the pressure that came with that to continue to uphold this viewpoint, right? This level of perfection that would be a model to people, to not let people down. Like, I didn't understand all that. I just would see my dad and my mom dancing in the kitchen together and, him swirling her around and him chasing her up the stairs. And my mom she's not a silly person. She's not very carefree.
No,
She's not a very carefree person. She's very careful. And she's very careful, and my dad is very careless. So it was just like, that's when I got to see them be carefree together. And I thought like, yeah, I my mom would write little notes, and I would find them in the car, and they would be like the lyrics to a song written that, you know, she would write for him and give him just the lyrics to the song, and little small, like the little small romances that I just knew that they loved one another.
Yeah.
And as a kid, of course, I didn't see the imperfections. I didn't care about those. They didn't argue or fight, you know, but there was more going on behind the scenes. And so when we got married, I did have a vision for what I felt the marriage should be like. And I also think it was healthy for me to have the understanding about why their marriage didn't work. And it wasn't just because of my dad's alcoholism, but I think that in a lot of ways, my mom had to betray herself in order to keep the peace, not just with him, but in the family. And I know in the beginning of our relationship, I was like, I'll never do that. So you're going to get all this sauce, all this syrup on your pancake.
I like syrup and I like sauce.
Thank
So
you. Thank you. I know you do. You know, but, and you were, yeah, and you were like, yes, like give it all, because I want to know every thought that you have. Every thought that you have, I want to know it. And so, yeah, so I think the why is clear. I do think that more people need to see healthy relationships and not relationships that are perfected for reality TV. Right? This is not a reality TV
right.
type of podcast. Like, we're not cutting out only the good parts and keeping only the, we actually do no cuts
Right.
in our show, right? But people need to see healthy marriages, all people. And I do believe, and we've talked about this for years, that we are called to marriage ministry in some capacity. And it starts with showing people who you are so that they have a point of reference
Absolutely.
for the truth about marriage, and how really to walk together with a person. And I think we do that well. And what benefit is it to the world if other people can't see it?
Correct. Also, I think what benefit is it for God to form us through all those trials if we don't show the world his glory?
Correct. And I think in showing him this glory, I feel like there's a little bit of, it feels a little rebellious for me in a way.
Why?
Just a little, the tiny rebellions. I think the misconceptions growing up, there's lots actually, and we kind of have to get this into, break it down in another
Okay.
episode. But, and because I like rebellion.
Okay.
If you know anything about me, I'm a revolutionary, much like my savior. Yeah, the little things, you know, like we've been caught recently on camera at church, being good, caught us being good,
Caught us being
taking
good.
walks, holding hands, praying together, kissing in church.
It's okay to kiss your wife. I never thought it would be frowned upon to kiss your wife.
I don't think it is. I remember I was on Threads again a couple months ago, and Kev on stage had asked, like, is it okay? Like, is it okay for two married people to have sex before on a Sunday, like before church? Is it okay? And I was like, it's such a controversy because, you know, even then it was very lighthearted and like everybody's like, yeah, that's what they're going to do. Like, one thing about them is they're just lovebirds, and that's where they're capturing us naturally, right? But I even think there's a little discomfort about that, right? Because we're raised at like save room for Jesus,
Right.
while you at church. Like intimacy has a place, and as if like church isn't that place. But I think we've had so many experiences where we be in the church looking at folks that's married, like, do you even like each other, right? Like, you're both here, but do you want to be here? And are there any good examples of happy, healthy marriages? And when we find them, we try to like pick the brains of the people who, have been married for a very long time or even a short time, and just kind of be in community with other married people, because I think there's so much, there's so much clarity around what is not allowed and what can go wrong in a marriage, and how God uses marriage to form us, like we just being forged in the fire just to be in the marriage. Like, oh my God, why didn't anybody warn me that it was just going to be this like battle? And you know what I mean? And I don't agree. That just
I,
hasn't been my
I
experience.
don't agree either. Like that narrative, the ball and chain, I don't get that. And I also don't prescribe to the happy wife, happy life. I prescribe to the happy spouse, happy house, because everybody needs to be happy in this piece.
Correct. And so I just think that it goes a little outside of the grain to be like, you know, having PDA, I guess. Somebody told me the other day, like, yeah, because I hate PDA. And I was thinking, like, do you hate it for yourself, or do you hate to see it for other people? And what makes you uncomfortable to see things that should be happening in a marriage? There's like some people who they don't kiss and all that if their kids are in the room, or because it's like, I don't know. I feel like part of me feels like everybody just over sexualizes everything. I feel
Yeah,
like intimacy or you know, things like that, I feel like they should be celebrated, and they should be also celebrated in church. And I also think that the way we perform church is the way sometimes that we perform marriage at church. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions around um, how we get to talk about marriage versus just doing marriage in church. It's easy to stand up and talk about marriage. And even in doing that, I think that a lot of times inadvertently, certain things get normalized that to me should not be normalized. Um, we really need to heal as a people, especially as Black folks, from what the church will tell us about how we're to show up in marriage. And that's part of the reason for the why now, because it was very clear to me that there needed to be a healthy marriage ministry that didn't sit and just talk to people about marriage, but actually modeled marriage for people who are wanting to be married, or who are already married, or who are struggling in marriage. Because we had I think, a very significant transition, church transition, that was a very insignificant transition or even issue in our marriage, was not a marriage issue. Actually, had nothing to do with our marriage. And that church transition, some of the feedback that we received during that time was really about me continuing to attend church in a certain fashion that they wanted me to, or maybe felt that I was, responsible to, or even maybe felt that I was called to. And multiple people during that time, when I was making a decision to step down from leadership, not step away from ministry, because we do ministry in our daily life, given
absolutely.
what we do, right? But stepping down from leadership in that particular space, to protect really my own mental health, um, and which extends to the health of my family.
Right.
And I think,
Which also extends to the health of your marriage.
correct. And so having to make that decision, and having people who I trust and who I value in terms of their opinions and their perspectives, it was difficult, because when I chose to step down, and then to eventually step away and take a break from church based on what I had heard God say to me clearly, there were multiple people who were very quick to let me know, when they couldn't persuade me otherwise, that we were all supposed to be suffering together, or that we just keep holding on, that this was just a storm that would pass, and that we needed to just be all in and all that. And I knew I wasn't called to suffering in that way, in that space. Then what it came down to was, well, let's give you something that I think will make you think differently about how this could impact your marriage. And that was the scripture that a house divided cannot stand. And it was interesting because I had multiple conversations, and no fault to the people that I had the conversations with. I think that the conversations were well intentioned. But number one, this specific conversation about why I'm making this decision really has nothing to do with the health of my marriage. And also, the house divided is not my house. That is this bigger fish to fry.
Right.
And I think, and I actually had to tell someone, I was like, I just want you to know that I don't make any decision that my husband is not in supportive of. He's actually the first one to say, hey, if it causes you harm, we ain't going to do it. Now, he feels called to continue doing what he's doing, so he's going to be there every Sunday. But whatever gave you the impression that our house was divided because we're choosing to attend church in two different ways, right? We're choosing to seek God in two different ways right now. This is the season for us, right? We're not exploring God separately. Y'all just ain't gonna see me at church.
Correct.
And I think like that was hard for me. It was hard for me because as a woman and as a leader who also values mentorship from other women, I think it was an unsafe place to go to talk about, we don't believe the husband and wife should attend church separately because a house divided cannot stand. Because I'm also a very practical Christian.
Right.
And I'm watching people attend church together and not modeling healthy, godly marriage.
Correct. One thing that goes unchecked is people don't ask, what did God say, before they give you the scripture. Also, what is God doing in you in this time? Because you stepping down was for your mental health, but also it was a sign of faith.
Yeah.
Because God had told you something. And so he was forming you in that time.
Yeah.
And you were doing Bible studies at home and staying in the Word and journaling, and those things only strengthened the things that God was pouring into you.
Yeah.
And oftentimes God will pour into you when people aren't watching.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it doesn't always happen at church. But everyone doesn't have language for that because they only get to see the Sunday avatar.
Correct.
And a lot of times the Sunday avatar is not really the full scope.
It never is.
You don't really get to see the full scope of the person because you're in church. Mm-hmm. It's hear my analogy.
Hear my heart.
Right, hear my heart. It's almost like going to the movies to a certain degree, because when you're sitting down in the pews, you're not having conversations left to right. Yeah. You're paying attention to the word. Similarly, when you're at the movies, nobody really connects at the movies. And then that 10 to 15 minutes after church or before church, you can truly hide who you are as a person. Mm-hmm. You can hide how your relationship is going. And those things, they didn't have context for it. So for that reason, they said a house divided could not stand, not knowing that we had already had these conversations. Yeah. Because your calling and my calling can be two different things, and we can walk in them together.
Yeah. And that doesn't make us divided.
Correct.
Because whatever made you think, why would you assume that I would do anything without my husband? And also, let me just say this, and let me just say this too. It did something for me to watch you keep going and show up every week to continue serving the ministry without me. So many, you see, the church is full of women. If you're looking for a good woman, she probably is at church. She probably at church. Church is full of women, and not just single women. Church is full of married women whose husbands are at home getting ready for Sunday night football, sleeping in, getting a rest, resetting for the week, which are things that we don't do, which is what I was doing on my downtime, I'm not gonna lie. But for you to get up and lead in that way and get up in the morning and pack up all of our children and still take them with you and serve multiple ministries, actually, because then there was a restructure. And I also didn't know how powerful it would be for me to be able to see that your spiritual walk had nothing also to do with us doing it together. You had your own assignment in that season. And God allowed me to see you as the spiritual head of our household in a way that I hadn't seen before. And also, when you got home, I was rested, baby. I was rested. I'd had what I needed for the day or for the week. I could get up and clean up and make breakfast or have a lunch ready, or things are just so busy. I never just had time for myself to pray quiet. Sometimes even when I'm praying or reading my Bible, highlighting, I close myself in the room. The kids would come in, have questions as soon as they wake up because they knew where I would be. And it was like, okay, and I'll welcome them in because I didn't want to be like, get out, I'm praying. This is another thing you can't interrupt me at. Get out while I'm reading the Bible. They need to come in and see what I'm doing and be a part of it and hear what I'm learning. And, but it's still, in that time, I think God was really growing me in my faith. You're correct. God was teaching me how to hear his voice above any other voice, including my own and including my leaders and my peers. And it was difficult because I felt very alone in that time, but I knew that God was with me. And I also knew that he was calling me out. And I also knew that he wasn't calling you out in that moment. And I just think that after that, during that time, was when I was like, okay, we're celebrating 10 years of marriage and 10 years of business this year. And this is the year for us to really show people that marriage is not whatever they think it is. It's not whatever they've seen whoever perform. It is so much, there's so much more to marriage. And I do think that there's a right and wrong way to do it.
Absolutely.
And not that I'm saying I think we just have everything figured out, but I do believe that in all of our experiences, God has graced us to do this work in marriage and has made it sustainable for us, because we're the last ones to be like, oh, it's work. You got but hang in there. Like, I never a day in my life ever felt like I was just hanging in there.
No, I don't feel like I was hanging there. I feel like even through any of our trials and tribulations, I feel like it was a journey to find you.
Yeah. Because I know you were looking, because I was deep down in there. And I've told you this before, but for me, marriage also has been a journey for me to find me as well. I feel like there's just something that is so familiar about this relationship, because at every turn and every trial and every conversation, I really do feel like I have greater context for who you are. But I think what is most impactful is I feel like I see myself so much more clearly when I see myself through your eyes. I have had to face myself and understand, unpack my history and learn more about myself and return back to who I was at 6 and 16 and 26 and realize I'm actually still that person. I'm still the dreamer. I still even carry some of the hurts, the things that have shaped me. But I have such a profound view of even who I am and who I'm supposed to be because I know you. And that's really what marriage is for, is to return us back to our highest selves so that we can be used for God's highest purpose. And that's it. And that's why it's so important that we marry well.